Hello people, and welcome to Crypto Exposed. Pundit says it's embarrassing to hold XRP in 2025. Okay guys, let's get into it. Okay, right, let's have a conversation then. Okay, so this has come off of the back of the news about the Western Union deal with Solana, right? And so we've got someone saying here that at this point it's just embarrassing to hold XRP in 2025. Okay, so I've got a few things to say on that. Completely disagree, and I'll explain why shortly. So, okay, just some things that I want to touch on because I have covered this already in terms of the specific Solana and Western Union partnership. So, in this article, it's mentioning that apparently Western Union have said that they've been, experimenting with different blockchains, and Solana came up as the clear winner for them. Okay, so there's two things I want to say about that, right? First and foremost, as I've said in my previous video, I'm under the impression, and I don't know this for 100%, but I'm under the impression that Solana paid for the partnership. It was around $50 million to have this exclusive partnership. So, and look, let me just say this. I'm not knocking them if that is the case, because Ripple have paid for partnerships too. So I'm not trying to make out like that's the worst thing in the world. But if they have, then this kind of goes against what they're saying here, right? And so are they saying this for marketing purposes? Is this a thing where, as part of the deal, Solana saying, hey, make us look good, make it look like we were the ones that you chose or whatever? I don't know. I don't know how true it is that they paid the $50 million. Some articles are saying they have, some are saying it's rumors, so nothing is confirmed as of yet, as far as I'm aware. But if that is the case, that changes things, right? That changes things a lot, because straight away it tells you that maybe this isn't, maybe this isn't quite the thing that they're trying to make it out to be. Secondly, okay, let's just go with this narrative, what they're saying here, right? They're saying here that, they apparently tested different blockchains and Solana came out as a clear winner. Look, I'm going to say this now, right? Even if, let's just say it was an XRP, let's say they tested different blockchains and XRP wasn't the clear winner, as they say, to choose to go with. I do not think for a second it would be Solana. Why? Solana has issues with scale. Solana has numerous outages. It's had numerous problems with outages. So yes, it may have speed and low cost, but if it's having problems scaling, then what does that really mean? Like, Solana's had so many outages, it's ridiculous. Like, I'll be honest with you. One of the reasons why I didn't invest into Solana was because of how much outages I heard that they had. So for me, I was thinking, well, as a network, that's not great, right? Now, for people who are Solana holders and you've made money, congratulations. Like, because I'm not here to be tribal, right? Like, we're all here to try and make money at the end of the day. So if you've made the money off at the back of Solana, great. That's fine. But I'm just being factual here. Like, at the end of the day, Solana has had outages as a network. Now, for whatever reason, it's still gained a lot of value. I have heard some theories behind that. I've heard that, like, the VCs who are behind Solana and they've been pushing up the price to try and make it more attractive. That is possible. I don't know. But again, it doesn't matter. What I'm talking about here is XRP would beat Solana in terms of, being the better choice of a network. Now, maybe there could be another network that maybe would get chosen over XRP. Maybe. I don't know. But the point that I'm making is, Solana, it just isn't a better choice. I'm sorry, but it's not. And this is where it wouldn't surprise me if this was a paid partnership, because, like, to say that they've picked, Solana over XRP, I'm just not buying it. I'm sorry, I'm just not. And that's not me trying to talk from a biased perspective. That's just me talking from an honest perspective. If they'd have said, for example, like, I'll be honest, if they'd have said, like, HBAR, like Algorand or something like that, like, I'd have been a bit more on board, to be honest with you. Or even Ethereum, because with Ethereum, again, I'm not saying it's the better choice, but Ethereum's the top 2 cryptocurrency. And Ethereum, Chainlink have gone with, not Chainlink, Swift have gone with Chainlink and Ethereum. So, again, I don't think that's a logical move to make. I'm not saying that that's the right move, because Ethereum's got its own problems too. But people seem to be doing it, right? They're making poor choices. But, yeah, like, I'm just not buying it. I'm just not buying it personally. So, okay, let's just move on from that conversation. Let's get to the point of, is it embarrassing in 2025 to hold XRP? Okay, so this is the thing for me, right? And this is where I'm just going to shut it down straight away with one point. Let me put it to you like this. If you held XRP, let's just say in 2024, let's even go back a year, because, you know, literally if we go back a year from now, it wasn't until November, and I can't remember the exact dates, I think it was more towards the end of November, like around the 20th, that XRP really took off, right? So if we're just entering into November now, obviously I don't know when this video will drop, but when I'm recording this, it's just coming into November. XRP would probably be around, at this point, probably around like 50-60 cents, something like that. So if you was holding XRP for a year, where you're at now, even at this $2 mark, like even though you're not at the, you know, the peak of the $3, you'd be up substantially. So what's embarrassing about that? Right? Like if we're talking about money, which is what the aim of the game is, right? That's what a lot of people watch this content for and stuff. They're trying to see what's going to make them money and how it's going to make them money. Well, if you was an XRP from just a year ago, right now, when it's going up to this point, you'd have made a lot of profit. So what's embarrassing about that? What's embarrassing about that? Like, how can you be embarrassed to hold XRP when you'd be up massively in profit by now? Now, for the people who maybe brought in over the hype when XRP did reach like $3 and now they've brought in at that kind of price point, well, yeah, okay, you might be a bit more frustrated because you brought in at the top and now you've got to wait for it to go a bit higher, so you might be down right now. But for the other people who've been here many years, they've been buying in at 30 cents, 20 cents, 50 cents, 70 cents, maybe $1, right? And so they're up massively at this point, you know, probably still holding out for more gains. But the point is, if they wanted to sell, they could make money. So for me, that straight away falls flat on its face. Like, in all honesty, I could end the video right there. But let's go into it a little bit more. Okay. Look, in terms of XRP being a bridge asset, like, and I've covered this a few times now, but I can be honest and say, look, in terms of the whole narrative of XRP being this, you know, bridge asset for like, you know, loads of transactions and stuff, I already said from the beginning, I don't think, you know, Ripple and XRP was going to replace Swift. I don't think it will. I've never said that I think every bank in the world will use XRP. I don't think that's realistic. So I've always been a bit more grounded with my opinion of XRP as a bridge asset, right? And I can admit, even with me being realistic, it is looking like more and more its role as a bridge currency. It's still going to have its purpose, don't get me wrong, it will, but it's going to be a little bit more limited than what I've, you know, originally even anticipated from a realistic perspective. And I'm just coming to terms with that now. So don't get me wrong, let me just make this clear. I don't think that means that XRP is going to fail. I don't think that means it's the end for XRP in any way, shape or form, because that's not its sole use case, right? Like, don't get me wrong, that's the one that Ripple presented as the main thing. I definitely acknowledge that. But there's plenty of other things that are going on with XRP. And then we've got Ripple, who are doing a lot of strategic acquisitions and things like that and trying to put things in place so XRP can get adoption. So to me, it's like, I'm not just looking at it from just cross-border payments anyway, right? And then not even just Ripple, you've got other developers on the XRP ledger that are trying to, you know, make things work and use cases for XRP utility purposes and adoption. So at the end of the day, like, you know, there's stuff going on. So yeah, in terms of the bridge currency aspect, look, I do think that narrative is slowly starting to get phased out. Again, I think it will have a level of success, but I do think it will be moderate. I don't think it's going to be heavily reliant on that use case for its success. But there's so many other aspects that's going on where XRP is being adopted, like tokenization, you know. You've got the stablecoin, RLUSD, the DeFi sector that they're going into. Like, there's plenty of other aspects of XRP utility that's still going on. So to me, to say that it's embarrassing to hold XRP, to me, it's like, again, this is for the people who just thought that XRP was going to have every bank using it. They was going to flip this switch and then banks were just going to all be using XRP. Every company and bank in the world would be using XRP. That's the people who probably feel embarrassed. And in all honesty, that's the thing, like, that kind of stuff was wild anyway. So yeah, like, I'm not saying that you should be embarrassed, but I get it. I get why you might feel a bit like, oh, well, what's going on here? Like, I get why you might feel a bit, you know, a bit stunned by this. But like, for me, like, yeah, I'm not surprised. So even though I will say, the cross-border payments, bridge currency narrative, yeah, even for me from a realistic aspect, I'm a bit like, maybe need to tamper down even my expectations in that regard. But I still look at it as like, I don't think that means that XRP is going to fail though. I don't think that means that XRP is not still going to perform in this bull run and, couldn't still potentially, not saying it will, potentially hit $10. I still think all those things are possible. And I think, in the long-term future, XRP could possibly hit triple digits. Not saying it's going to happen. I don't know, but I'm saying it's possible. So to me, it doesn't, this doesn't spell the end for XRP. Does it, limit its success just a little bit? Well, yeah, in that specific area. But if you're getting huge adoption in other areas anyway, then it's going to be propped up, right? It'll balance out, because it could be that, okay, maybe the cross-border payment sector isn't as successful, but maybe it gets really big in DeFi and tokenization. So that could make up for the shortfall in terms of cross-border payments. So, for me, I'm not like hedging all my bets on just cross-border payments. I never have been. I've even said to you guys, like, don't just look at Ripple as the only developer on the XRP ledger. There's other developers. So to me, I'm just thinking what I thought the whole time, and that is, hey, like, this isn't the end of the world. But to me, to say it's embarrassing to hold XRP, why? Like, if you're someone who's been holding from just a year ago, you're massively up in profit. So what's embarrassing about that? Do you know what I mean? Like, when I look and see what I've got from holding XRP, just from, well, I've been holding since 2020, so, I've had it a long time. But, when I look at where I'm at now, like, I'm up. If I wanted to sell right now, I could, and I'd be up. I'd have a profit. So, like, there's nothing embarrassing for me, because I look at the profit I can make and I'm happy with that. So, you know what I mean? So to me, I think that's a bit misguided in my opinion. But I do think for a lot of people who've just got this idea of thinking XRP was just going to take over the world, yeah, I get it. I think for those people, they probably are feeling frustrated now, and they're feeling like, yeah, we've been duped here. Like, this whole narrative is completely inaccurate, of course. And I've been trying to tell you guys for 2 years now that that's not the case. But look, it is what it is. Like, I hope people are just getting a bit more of a realistic outlook now at this point. Hopefully we can move forward and pass this whole $10,000 narrative. The people who want to believe it, I'm sure, still will. But, I hope there's a lot more people who are getting a bit more wise to this now and starting to, figure it out. But yeah, in my opinion, I don't think it's embarrassing in terms of holding XRP. I'm still happy as an XRP holder, and I still think I'm going to make a lot more value. So I'm not about to sit here and act like that in any way, to me, has any kind of weight. I think there's absolutely nothing wrong with being an XRP holder, and I still think you can make more profit, which is ultimately what everybody's here to do. Thank you very much for watching this. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And hit that bell. Take care.